So you're a mouse?
No, I'm a star!
Well, most stars are a bit higher up than that.
Higher up? You mean like this?
You know what? Actually, yes, exactly like that.
Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages,
hunting the big beasties is all well and good. I mean, it's literally the name of the series, but aside from the real big baddies, the game is chock full of wildlife in every corner and everywhere in between. So today, let's back up a step, maybe a few steps, because you don't want to frighten the little guys. We'll be going after today with a guide to all rare endemic life currently in Monster Hunter Wilds. Anything that makes your hand go shiny when you find it and capture it, and tips for when, where, and how to find them. Let's start off first then with the Sandstar, as this is required for an endemic life side mission, and it's on our first map, which is the Windward Plains. The Sandstar will only exist at nighttime anywhere in the sort of dune-heavy areas of the desert, mostly around the large expanse surrounding the oasis in Area 13, up and down all of these sandy hills. And it seemingly spawns more frequently in the Plenty season as well, but mostly just make sure that you're on nighttime more than anything else. So when resting to reset your spawns, rest for nighttime and Plenty on the Windward Plains. I then just search up and down the dunes looking for a glowing blue light, and before you go looking for it, this part is important, bring screamer pods and have them equipped. These little guys are fast as all hell, but they are extremely sensitive to sound. This means that they will hear you and notice you even if you're wearing the ghillie mantle, but it also means that screamer pods or other methods of sonic bomb type effects can stun this endemic life for a moment, which allows you to close the gap on it, equip your capture net, and then capture the little bugger. He's real fun though, looking at him up close, and especially when he occasionally rotates into the command tent and just exists hanging out, he's really cool to get a closer look at. On that note, while Wilds doesn't at this point have a dedicated place like a bedroom that you can personally choose and set endemic life to look at, the command tent in the Windward Plains base camp does always display one land-based endemic life and one aquatic endemic life that you have caught on your journey at some point along the way. This is random, and it updates which ones they are every time that you rest and then go back to the tent, so especially if you are someone who cares enough about endemic life to watch this video, you should make a point of checking your command tent pretty frequently, and you'll get to enjoy your little guys just existing in the world at least a little bit. Next up, let's talk about a slightly more common, still rare endemic life on the same map, the black Windrustler. Windrustlers themselves are the little tiny raptor guys that run around the Ceratinoth and the Delphodons in the big eastern open area of the Windward Plains, Area 8 and 10, that sort of section. The black Windrustler is a special color variation of these, a different color than the rest, and I've had all of mine spawn during daytime on Plenty season. So rest with those settings of the plains, and then just go on down searching around the Ceratinoth herds, and with just a little bit of luck you'll see the unique Windrustler scamping around and be able to nab them with your net. Next up then, let's talk about the Dazzlewing. This is the male member of the Dapperwing species, a much rarer find than the rest, much more vibrant colors and much more puffy as well, and these generally spawn on the Scarlet Forest during the Plenty season during daytime. All of the ones that I've found personally have been in Zone 6 exactly, at these sort of rundown trees that have similar models within the zone. There are a couple of them within Zone 6, and then there is also a similar sort of tree by the bottom of the waterfall in Zone 15 where these birds can also spawn. While we're in the area as well then, let's talk about the Curioshell Crab, and this pretty little pincer is hanging on to a bunch of ancient goodies, really cool rare endemic life, and they can actually spawn on any map in any season at any time of day. They're just a rarer spawn with a few specific locations you're more likely to see them. The one that I've seen them at personally though is specifically directly beside Camp 8 on the Scarlet Forest, the underground lake camp. Outside of this tent there is a short rock walkway, and sometimes after resting in the tent you'll see this little fella just sitting there waiting to be put into a captured net. As well, to continue on through the Scarlet Forest rare endemic life, then there is the Hymstrigian, the rare version of the Amstrigian. These guys can spawn on the Windward Plains as well, but I found that they have a really high spawn rate, specifically in the Smithy's Seal of Approval high rank optional quest that you first get from Gemma in high rank. This quest is daytime in the Plenty, and if you head to this exact spot here, a little branchy bush on this tiny island in the middle of Area 8, this is the highest spawn chance I've found for the very noticeably blue or purpley version of the Amstrigian, the Hymstrigian. When you look at it up close, it's very clearly a different creature, and you can even tell by the sound it makes. It has a lot more sort of vibrato on its noises. You can see it actively singing all the time. It's a really cool touch to make this one special too. One of the more common but still rare endemic life in the forest as well is the Regal jewel scarab. These most appear during the fallow season and during the morning especially, and they spawn in the same place as regular jewel scarabs do, which is up on the trees that are covered in the red sappy goop in Area 1 1, 2, and 3. The main distinction for these to make them more noticeable is a larger shell in general, as well as a more purple jewel as opposed to the blue jewels of the regular jewel scarab. I found mine personally in Area 2, but these will pop up more frequently than most on the list. They're just a not very rare endemic life. Before we leave the forest, then I want to touch on 2 fish as well that are considered rare endemic life, as these can both be found on this map as well. The first is the Goliath Squid. These spawn up in the lakefront of Area 17 during the nighttime is the main requirement, and ideally you'll want the tentacle jig lure that you can get from the Fisher Fellow side quest chain as well. The creature itself is very noticeable in the water, it's very big, it is glowing, and it may take a bit of patience to get it to bite on your lure, but once it does, it's like any other whopper for the actual fishing minigame if you've done that before. Slowly tire the squid out without snapping your line, and then reel it in when you have the opportunity. It is the longest version of the fishing minigame of any of the whopper fish, but complete it successfully and you'll get yourself the Goliath Squid. The other rare fish then is the Petricanth. This bright, glowing underwater cave fish is definitely harder to find than the Goliath Squid is, but much easier to catch once you do. The specific spot where I've seen these is right beside the tent that you can place in Area 16 on the Scarlet Forest, the Ruins Interior tent. I'll be playing the path to get here in the background footage here from the Area 17 camp, just because it is a little bit hidden away up in there. If you don't have that tent, you may not know how to get it, but once you actually get there then, you want to rest for nighttime and the plenty season as well to give yourself the highest chance of this fish spawning. The pool is directly beside the tent, and you'll very clearly be able to see the fish if it is spawned because of how ridiculous it looks. If you don't see this fish swimming around, go rest again for the same conditions in the tent to reset your fish spawns and try again. Once it's there, you ideally want the Duster Rig bait specifically, which is again from the Fisher Fellow side quest chain, and once the fish bites on, just press the actual input to reel it in and you'll get the regular automatic reel in animation for smaller fish. But what a shiny smaller fish it is. Moving on then to the Oilwell Basin, there are a couple of particularly rare endemic life here, but the slightly more common rare endemic life is the Azure Rufflizard. This is a bigger, more colorful version of the normal Ember Rufflizards. They can show up just on the ground in some of the larger topside zones in the Oilwell Basin, such as right beside the base camp itself, but they tend to show up most in the plenty season, and mine showed up in the evening specifically as well. As for the rarer ones, first let's talk about the Peony Sparklerjelly. Area 13 and 14 of this map have a bunch of little sparkler jellies hanging out, floating out above you as you walk through the zone. But if you come here specifically during nighttime in the plenty season, you have a chance of spawning the Peony Sparklerjelly. My route for this one is taking the Area 13 camp, then just running along this main open cavern full of the jellies. You will absolutely see the Peony Sparklerjelly if it spawns. It is impossible to miss because it looks like a giant miscategorized large monster. It's like an absolutely massive sparkler jelly. It's got some different coloring, a little bit of different shape to it. It's totally freaky and I love it, and you can just catch it with the regular capture net. It won't even run away if you approach it. Then the last one for this map then is New Yaya. This is a little baby version of New Udra. I love that they exist so much, and you can find them floating around in Area 17 of the Oilwell Basin, which is New Udra's nest, but you can only find them there under very specific conditions. In particular, you need to put the Oilwell Basin into Fire Spring mode, which means setting it to inclemency, and then check if a New Udra has spawned, which it should do, and if it has, then you want to rest and set yourself to morning on plenty, then go down to the nest itself. This is something that can happen naturally during New Udra quests, just if they happen to go over that line into morning and plenty during the actual quest time, but this is how you sort of force it a bit more manually. I should also note that while they aren't rare endemic life, so they won't get their own entry, you can also find the babies of Shu Wu, the other cephalopod monster, and those spawn in Area 12 of the Ruins of Wyveria map in the plenty season. Simple as that. Next up then we have the return of the Downy Crake as one of the rarest endemic life in Monster Hunter Wilds. This one only spawns on the Iceshard cliffs, and specifically only on the back of the Rathma, which are the little paralysis goats. The easiest pack of Rathma to check and reset quickly is in Area 13, right beside the camp in Area 20. Walk out from this camp into Area 13, see if any of the Rathma have birds on their heads, check over in Area 12 or Area 14 because they can spawn there too, to, and if they do have the birds on, stick on the ghillie mantle to avoid threatening them, and go have a look. The season and time of day I'm hearing people have the most success with is morning time on the fallow season, but this one can definitely pop up regardless of time or season specifically. It's just a relatively rare occurrence whether it actually happens or not. That said, if they are on one Rathma, they are likely to be on others in the same spawn cycle, so as I learned through actual practice accidentally, if you fuck up the capture net because your Downy Crake spawn happened in a room full of blank gongas trying to freak out your actual Rathmas, don't worry, there's probably another Rathma nearby who has more Crakes for you to be able to grab, and that is lovely. This leaves us with the Runes of Wyveria and the final couple of rare endemic life spawns that live here. The first and easier to find of the two is the Gillopod. You'll have seen Pillopods all over the place on the walls. These are the sort of regular version of the species, and Gillopods are the special one. For this one, you want it to be plenty season, time of day doesn't actually matter, and all the ones that I found personally have been on these inner spires you will find while descending the map. Gillopods are the larger version of the species with bright shiny eyes, which makes them harder to miss if you see them next to the regular ones as well, and generally speaking, I find that you will almost always see at least one Gillopod by just setting the map to plenty and then following the wooden route-based sacred path down the middle through these spires, keeping an eye on the walls and the actual spires themselves to see what spawns on them. They're too rare, honestly, as long as you do that. That said, our final rare endemic life is quite possibly the rarest of them all in the game, the Prism Hercudrome. This has a singular spawn location during a specific season and during an ultra specific time of day, being late night. Not just nighttime in general, but late night, which is the last 5 minutes or so before the game actually turns a time into morning, which you can see on your map forecast once you enter it. These conditions, if they are met, will give you a chance of this endemic life spawning. It still isn't guaranteed. That said, the specific spot you're looking for is this tree right here, located beside the giant vigor wasp during the plenty season, right in the middle of this wyvern milk river. This tree will glow all purple all the time and look really special, and Alma will also comment on it every time you get close to the tree, so it's a pretty hard one to miss. The best way that I have found of getting this to happen then is to set yourself to nighttime and plenty through a rest on the map, then come wait here right in front of the tree with ghillie mantle on without moving. This creature will always spawn in the same spot if it does come out, and it'll always be on the same tree. So when you hit late night on the actual forecast while you're watching the timer on your map, have a look at the tree and it may well have spawned in while you were sitting there. If not, I've heard some people have had luck just waiting until it hits late night, then if it doesn't spawn, go to another map, then fast travel directly back and go back to the tree again. Theoretically, this resets endemic life spawns without changing the time of day, but personally I got mine from the waiting in front of the tree method, so I can't really comment on that. That does it for today then, everyone. All of the proper rare endemic life in Monster Hunter Wilds that I'm aware of personally at the very least, and where and how to catch them. I hope you've all enjoyed this, and if you happen to know any more of these than I do, then feel free to leave them in the comments down below to help your fellow hunters find them too. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world our stage. Goodbye.